afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Western Sydney University Library's Thought Leadership Event Series. It is wonderful to have you with us for our 10th Thought Leadership event of 2026 and our 46th event since the series began in November 2022. As many of you know, this series showcases research that addresses complex social, environmental, economic, and cultural challenges while contributing to informed public discussion and advancing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Through these events, we seek to connect researchers, students, policymakers, and the broader community around ideas that matter. Today's presentation explores an issue that many of us may think of as routine or unremarkable, yet one that raises important questions about gender, identity, equity, and choice. Today's topic, hemmed in school uniforms, gender performance, and the illusion of choice, we are invited to look beyond school uniforms as simply clothing and consider how policies and expectations can shape the ways young people express themselves and navigate social norms. Drawing on interviews with Sydney parents and insights from gender performativity theory, this research examines whether girls' school uniform choices genuinely reflect their preferences or whether those preferences are shaped by institutional and cultural expectations. It is timely discussion that speaks to broader conversations about inclusion, gender equality, representation, and the hidden structures that influence everyday life. We are delighted to welcome Dr. Jennifer E. Cheng, lecturer in Sociology in the School of Social Sciences at Western Sydney University. Dr. Cheng is an interdisciplinary scholar whose research spans racism and anti-racism, Islamophobia, sport, gender, and social inequality. Their work is united by a commitment to uncovering and challenging hidden inequities, creating opportunities for meaningful social change. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jennifer Cheng as we look forward to hearing their presentation and engaging in a thought-provoking discussion. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I'd like to start off with a question. Is it ever okay to force a girl to wear a skirt? So if you think about this for a while, you might think, well, actually, no. But let's look deeper into this issue. Is it okay to force a girl to wear a skirt? Because this is actually happening across our country every day from Monday to Friday, and it affects thousands and thousands of girls. Let me talk about a historical case from real life. So in 2024, a girl in Queensland took her school to the Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal because the school stipulated that girls must wear a skirt to all the school's formal events. So she argued that this was discrimination, that being forced to wear a skirt caused psychological harm, that wearing a skirt affected her physically because she had to, maintain modesty and walk and sit in different ways, so not expose her underwear, and also that it posed a greater financial burden because she would have to buy two sets of uniforms if she chose to wear the pants as well on other days. Interestingly, the complaint was dismissed and the school won the case. So tribunal member Jeremy Gordon found that there was no direct or indirect discrimination. He said that girls were not required to wear skirts on ordinary school days, so culottes, shorts and trousers were available. And he also said that, well, you only have to wear a skirt for approximately 8 hours of the year, so it's not a big deal. It's just 8 hours of the year. He also said the school found that female students were generally content wearing skirts and other girls didn't have a problem wearing a skirt. So despite having a choice, the overwhelming majority of female students chose to wear a skirt, he argued, and therefore it's not discrimination to this one girl. And let's have a look at this idea of choice. So he argues that the overwhelming majority of the other female students chose to wear a skirt, and therefore it's not discrimination to force other girls to wear a skirt. What is this idea of choice, and was it a free choice? So Kayla Mildren in the conversation discusses how sometimes choice isn't just choice. It's not as straightforward as that. So for example, even where pants are permitted, girls may avoid them and the school culture treats skirts as the norm and pants as the exception. Pants may be poorly designed, uncomfortable, unflattering, even though they're technically available, theoretically available. Or there might be limits on when you can wear the pants, as in the case of the girl in Queensland. She can't wear them on formal occasions, or sometimes you can only wear them in winter. And sometimes there are special orders for girls' pants. So I know of a specific school where the pants must be ordered in February when it's still very hot. And then when it comes to, say, April, May or June, and you feel cold and you want to wear pants, you can't order them anymore because you didn't order them back in February. So you can't have pants for that year. So what does choice look like in a private girls' school? And this is in 2026. This is a brand new uniform of the school. I won't name any schools in this presentation. This is a brand new uniform introduced this year to come into effect very soon. So it's not like an antiquated policy that's just outdated and they haven't updated it yet, or they haven't had time to change it. It is a brand new uniform. And they say on the school website, designed in collaboration with respected Australian designer Jonathan Ward, the uniform introduces a capsule wardrobe approach. Students will have access to a curated collection of versatile pieces that can be mixed and matched throughout the year, providing comfort, flexibility, and choice while honouring our traditions. This curated collection includes core academic uniform. This core academic uniform must be purchased and is required to be worn on significant school occasions. Now, I want to stop here and say, what are these choices of words here? So we see in the top part, in the more pale blue, comfort, flexibility, and choice. And then we see in the next paragraph, this core uniform must be purchased and is required to be worn. So do you have a choice, or you must purchase it and it is required? So these are two contradictory things. There are, of course, some optional academic items, and we'll have a look at these. So I took this from the website. On the left, you see the core items, which must be purchased, and that includes the skirt. So you must have the skirt and you must purchase the skirt. There is no way to opt out of this. And if you want to wear the pants, sure, that's an additional item you can choose to purchase. So what this is saying is there is a choice, but please make the correct choice, not the wrong choice. This is the exact scenario that was presented in the case with the girl in Queensland as well. And as I said, this is a brand new uniform introduced this year. So it's not an old policy. Looking at the New South Wales Department of Education policy, they stipulate clearly that public schools must offer girls the options of shorts and pants. So this is like a checklist that they provide on the website. I've highlighted some of the items here in the bottom. So for example, support choice and gender expression include pants and shorts. Students should be supported in their right of choice. Options must include pants and shorts. Now you might think this is quite straightforward. Okay, all public schools in New South Wales must offer pants and shorts to everybody, boys and girls. It sounds simple in theory, but it's actually quite complicated when you try to implement this and find out how it is actually implemented or not. So looking at some schools' website, this is a public girls' high school. If you go to their website, say that, for example, your daughter is about to attend this school and you as a parent want to know, what do I need to buy? You go to the website and this is what you see. Our school uniform at X Girls High School, senior students wear a skirt and blouse. At junior students wear a dress in summer and a tunic and blouse at winter. Junior winter uniforms are generally worn from week 3, term 2, until end of term 3. That's another issue for another day, but I do also I also have a problem with this idea of stipulating when students should change from a winter to summer uniform, as if somehow weather patterns conform to, socially constructed school terms. But if you were to read this, you would think that that's the uniform. Okay, so my daughter's starting year 7. I need to buy the dress for the summer and the tunic and the blouse for winter. they are my options. I haven't got another choice, do I? Because that's what it says on the website. Why would I think any different? But then if you click into the actual school uniform online shop, it comes up with slacks. This is very confusing. Are slacks a part of the uniform? Should I be buying them? Can I buy them? Can my daughter wear them? Is it allowed? I don't know. Um, this is how it's presented. You can buy pants from the school uniform shop, um, but we don't know if you can actually wear them. Um, and also note there are no shorts available. So remember the Department of Education policy is shorts and pants must be made available. Shorts are not available. And you might think, okay, so this is just an anomaly. It's just one school. It's just a one-off, but it's not the case. Here's another one. This is a co-ed public high school. And if you go to the website and have a look at their uniform, for example, here the junior girls, there's a green tartan skirt and a long short-sleeved white blouse with green trim and the school logo embroidered on the pocket. So again, you would think, this is the uniform. I have to buy my daughter this green tartan skirt and a white blouse. I haven't got another choice. That's it. Again, if you go into the uniform shop, there's actually grey pants on the list. And again, as a parent, you'd be confused. Are they allowed? Are they not allowed? Why is it not mentioned here? Why is the picture only showing girls wearing skirts? I don't understand. Um, Again, there's no shorts option. There are only pants. And interestingly, you'll see the size range that they offer is only 10 to 16. So a lady size 10 is, I would say, is quite large for a young year 7 or 8 girl. If she can't fit this size 10, if she's too small for that, well, then too bad. She can't wear the pants. She can't buy the pants. So the size limit is also an issue here. And this is another form of choice in a public co-ed high school. Now, the uniform is presented as a gender-neutral option. It doesn't actually stipulate these are the girls' items, these are the boys' items. So this is how it's presented. There's a shirt and a blouse. It doesn't say that's the boy's shirt, this is the girl's blouse, although we know generally which one is which. And there's a shorts, a skirt, or a pants option. The problem is the shorts are the boys' shorts, and there are only boys' shorts available. And if you want to wear the shorts, you have to buy these shorts from the school shop. You can't just buy another pair of shorts that are the same color. Girls don't want to wear these baggy boys' shorts, and therefore they will choose the skirt. But was that really a choice? Would they prefer to wear shorts that are not baggy boys' shorts? We don't know, because there is no option to actually get girls' shorts or shorts that are more fitting for girls. So why does choice matter? Why am I getting my knickers in a knot about this? You might be asking yourself. So skirts constrain everyday movement. There were some studies done in the past where they found if the trials girls wearing their PE or sport uniform every single day, and they found that girls were much more active on the days that were wearing this sports uniform. Well, there was no change for boys. So this shows us that girls wearing skirts and dresses move less. They do less activity, less sport if they're forced to wear a dress and skirt. And this is kind of obvious why. You have to move in a certain way. You can't move in certain ways. You have to be very careful not to flash your underwear when you're doing physical activity if you're wearing a skirt. Again, wearing a skirt pushes girls to move and sit in different ways. You have to sit with your knees together. You don't want to show people your underwear, and this can, of course, affect your comfort in the classroom. Dress codes are disproportionately restrict clothing associated with girls. So as we saw in point 1, when boys changed to PE uniform, it didn't affect their activity levels. That's because their regular uniform is always shorts and pants and a shirt. It always is. So this kind of restrictive clothing only for girls disproportionately affects girls. And another issue which is really important is this kind of strict binary, this is for girls, this is for boys, can marginalise transgender and gender non-conforming students. Let's have a look at what the parents are telling us. What do girls wear when choice is restricted? So these are different forms of choice that I found in my data. There's a choice dictated by societal expectations. There's a choice clearly concealed on the school website. There's no official choice. There's a conditional choice, and there's no choice at all. So this is a socially conditioned choice. So this mother of a 7-year-old girl says, the girls do have the option of a shirt and shorts, and it's a big school with about 1,000 kids, but she's only seen 2 or 3 girls wear this shirt and shorts option. And so I asked her, do you have any idea why that might be? And she said, if I ask my daughter, she wants to be the same as everyone else. She does not want to be the one that's different. She wants to look more like a girl. So at the age of 7, the girl has already established, I need to wear a dress so that people know that I'm a girl. And I would dare say the whole point of having this gender segregated uniform is so that we know this is a girl and this is a boy. So she's learned that lesson very early on and very quickly that I need to wear the dress to be a girl and look like a girl. And I don't want to wear that uniform that looks certainly like a boy's uniform. And then the mother says the pants are a different cut to the boys' pants. They're a lot slimmer, so the boys' pants look a bit just like normal pants. The girl seems more tailored. I'm not sure if those pants come with a pocket or not. And then she says because they're so slim and so fitted and so tailored, she doesn't know that pockets are actually real pockets, whether they can fit pockets in. Pockets are also an issue because girls' uniforms often don't have pockets and boys do. If you look at the uniform, this is the actual uniform I've taken from the uniform shop. The top 2 are the boys' shorts and pants, and the bottom 2 are the girls' shorts and pants. What you might notice is that the boys' shorts and pants have elastic, so they can just be pulled on and pulled off quickly and easily. The girls have a fiddly button and possibly a zipper. It's not only the fiddliness and the extra time it takes, but also if a child grows, the elastics will grow with you to some extent, but the pants, with a button and a zipper won't exactly move. Um, the other thing is it says they're tailored shorts, they're tailored trousers, so they're quite tight and form-fitting. And it says, please consider below information before ordering. So when I clicked on that, it actually says that the brand that makes these shorts and pants, that the sizing is off and it's actually one size smaller than what it should be. So for example, if you ordered it in a size 8, it's actually more like a size 6. So they've actually tried to shrink these items. I don't know why, but it's possibly because girls are supposed to wear things tight, form-fitting, showing the shape of their body. Can't be too baggy, can't be too loose because that's too masculine, it's too boyish. So that's the option, and it also gives us some indication as to why the girls are opting for the dress, which is just easier to put on and sort of grows with you a bit as you change. This is a mother of a 13-year-old girl who's in high school. This goes to a girls' private school. She's telling about the winter uniform, and she says it's a skirt, it's a thicker material, and she has to wear the teal black tights. And she can opt out of the skirt and tights and just wear the pants, which is what she does. And then she says, I need to return things. Like there's hundreds of dollars down the drain because I didn't really know the pants option was a thing until after she got involved. And then her daughter only wants to wear the pants because she doesn't want to wear the tights. And if you wear the skirt, you must wear the tights. And she says, look, the pants option isn't common. No one seems to, no one seems to wear the pants option. So hardly anyone in her year wears it. And again, the question is, why? I had a look at the uniform shop, had a look at the school website. They have made a uniform, a video, a YouTube video with these girls talking about the uniform. And I watched the whole video. And they never once mentioned the pants. They never once mentioned that that's an option. You would totally have the impression from this video that there is only the skirt and the only pants option is during PE and sport. So that's what she's holding is the sports pants. So if we watch this video, we'd understand, okay, we must purchase the skirt, the summer skirt and a winter skirt. If we go to the uniform shop, however, here are the pants. They suddenly appear. And they're a lot cheaper than the skirt. Look, the winter skirt is $120. So imagine this mother has purchased, say, 2 skirts for her daughter. She spent $240 on this skirt that her daughter won't wear because she's forced to wear the tights with the skirt. And she could have just spent, $100 on 2 pairs of pants instead. So she's bought the skirt and then she's bought the pants. Now she says, I have to go and somehow return this skirt that my daughter's not wearing. Another case here is the unofficial wearing of pants. So this is a mother of a 14-year-old girl who goes to a co-ed private high school and just telling me about the winter uniform. And she says, look, it looks nice. What I don't like is they focus too much on the uniform, more than they do on academics. And the other thing is I don't love is that there's no other option. So it's just a skirt and a blouse. And she says, I mean, my daughter does have a friend who does wear the boys' pants, but it's not known as an option. So I asked her, how did the friend get to wear the pants? And she says, I'm not sure if she just does, or I'm not sure if she had to seek approval, but she just wears it with the blouse. So we aren't actually sure what happened there. The girl just wears it. Did she have to get special approval from the school, from the principal to wear the boys' pants? Or she's just doing it, hoping she doesn't get caught out. We don't know. The other thing is they're the boys' pants because they're only allowed to wear the official school uniform, and of course the official school uniform only has pants for boys, so the girl has to wear the boys' pants. In this one, this is an interesting case where the mother actually got the school to change the uniform. This is one of the rare cases. So she says the school changed the uniform to a full sports uniform for all kids back in 2022, and a part of that was her daughter refusing to wear a dress. So if they didn't want to wear the dress, they can wear a white button-up shirt with a Peter Pan collar and culottes that were made of the same material as a dress. And she said the culottes were basically just a skirt with the seam in the middle. So if they sat down, people could still see up and see their undies. So she would wear that because she wouldn't wear a dress. And then she started wearing part of the boys' uniform because the shorts are more comfortable. And the school had no problem with that. But school photos, they expected her to be in the full girls' uniform, and we would have fights every year about that. So the girl herself established quite early on the boys' shorts are more comfortable than the culottes and decided to wear them, but she's only permitted to wear them in non-formal events. But this case here, this is an outdated photo. It took me a long time to find it because it shows the culottes. The current uniform is actually just a sports uniform. And this mother actually helped instigate this change because they did a survey and they found the parents are all supportive of it. They didn't have to worry about, well, which day is sports day? Like, are you wearing a sports uniform today or the normal uniform today? They all just wear the sports uniform. It's the same for boys and girls. It's comfortable. It lets kids be active. And the question is, why do not more schools do this? What is against doing this? And a lot of the parents did say to me in interviews, I wish they would just make it a sports uniform all the time, every day, and get rid of the formal uniform. And this one is the no choice school where the girls don't even have a choice of any kind of shorts or pants. And the mother says the winter uniform, it's a bit more fiddly because she has the shirt underneath and then the tights, which means she has to wear bike pants to ensure that they stay in place. They can get holes. It's not practical. And then she says every morning when she has to put that uniform on, she says, oh, I wish we could just have what the boys have. It's just a shirt and pants. And I'm like, me too, because I always have to help her get dressed and we have to go through the rigmarole of where are all the pieces. And so the girls' winter uniform, you have to consider there is the long sleeve shirt with buttons. There is this funny tab tie thing. You can see it in the girl in the middle. That's compulsory too. And the mother says that always gets lost because it's just a small thing and it's so annoying. Um, there is the tunic, which she says is quite tight and form-fitting, so the girl can't reach behind to zip herself up, meaning she has to get the mother to help zip her up from behind. She's got the tights, and tights take a long time to put on. For anyone who's put tights on before, it takes a long time because you have to put it on bit by bit, and you have to put on one leg separately from the other. It does take a long time. Then she puts bike shorts over the tights because the tights are always falling down. Um, Compare that with the boys, which is just a shirt and then we pull on a pair of pants. So there's quite a big difference, and this school does not have any option for girls to wear pants. So even where choice exists, we still get steered back towards skirt. So girls want to look steered towards looking feminine, wearing the dress and the skirt. Formal clothing is considered only a skirt or a dress. So pants for girls is excluded from being formal. You can't look formal as a girl wearing pants, apparently. Um, Sometimes schools substituted shorts for culottes. So this is a little grey area. I think if you were to apply the Department of Education policy strictly, the question is, are culottes shorts? Are culottes shorts or not? We don't know. It's a very grey area. And a lot of schools only offer culottes. They don't offer shorts to girls. And then the private schools frame this, as you saw in the new uniform I showed at the beginning, as allowing pants most of the time, as bold and progressive, and students should be grateful for this opportunity to wear the pants most of the time. I did interview parents from non-uniform schools, and there aren't very many, as you know, in New South Wales. So I actively tracked down parents whose children went to non-uniform schools, and they very kind to share their experiences with me. So what do girls wear when they have a real choice about what they wear? Are they wearing skirts and dresses? So this is from a high school that doesn't have a uniform. And two different mothers telling me about their girls. So the first one says, in summer she'll wear long pants, wide leg, long cotton pants. She'll wear shorts, like denim style shorts, a singlet top or a t-shirt. And in winter, she's pretty much always in sneakers, jeans and a hoodie. And that's about it. That's all she ever wears in winter. And then the other mother says in summer, she predominantly wears t-shirts, jeans and sport shorts, or sometimes she would wear a skirt. She kind of mixes it up day to day. And in winter, she wears jeans, tracksuit pants, hoodies and t-shirts. So when given a free choice, the girls are not reaching for the skirts. And I'd like to point out here, a lot of the criticism that these non-uniform schools get is, oh, the children will want to always wear brand name things and we can't keep up with them and it's too expensive. But this mother says most of the kids just looked comfy. They're just trying to be comfortable. And that's what the principal said. We just want everyone to be comfortable. And I asked my daughter about that. Is there much competition? She's like, she's not worried about labels. My daughter's wearing clothes from Kmart, Target, Big W, Best and Less. She's not wearing designer labels to school and no one cares. Probably a White Fox hoodie is the only thing that she wears that's got like any kind of branding on it. So yeah, there's been no issues there. So people go to school in their jeans and t-shirts and really nobody thinks an eye. And also just going to primary school, this is a non-uniform primary school. And I asked the mother, what does your daughter wear in summer? It's shorts and a t-shirt. She usually just picks whatever's on top of the clean pile. And again, there was a lot of criticisms about, oh, if it's a non-uniform school, the kids are going to spend ages picking out their clothes. It's going to take too much time in the morning. But actually I found from all the parents, they said they just take whatever's in the wardrobe, pick whatever's there. It's no trouble at all. And then I said, is it always shorts and t-shirt? She says, oh, it's jeans and t-shirt. Sometimes she'll wear a skirt. She'll wear bike pants with a skirt over the top. Rarely, occasionally wear a dress. I'd say the vast majority of the time, like shorts and t-shirt and big baggy t-shirt and with bike pants. And I said, what sort of stuff does she wear in winter? Leggings, long sleeve t-shirt and a jumper and trainers and socks. And I asked her, is there any particular reason she chooses these things? She's very active. She likes to be able to run, jump, use the monkey bars, climb trees, that kind of thing. So she just wants things that are easy to move in and warm and comfortable. And I dare say having a dress or a skirt is not conducive to doing some of these things, running, jumping, using monkey bars. And even if you were to wear bike pants underneath a dress or a skirt like many girls do, as soon as you hang upside down, the dress or the skirt will flop over. So it's not that as practical as actually wearing just shorts and a t-shirt or leggings or jeans. So girls vote with their wardrobes. So not a single girl at a non-uniform school chose to wear a skirt or dress every single day. Comfort was the biggest factor. They always talked about, this is comfortable. I'm just wearing what I feel comfortable in. That was the overriding factor in everything. Freedom to move matters. So girls pick clothes that let them do what they needed to do, what they wanted to do. And so skirts and dresses were disliked or rejected. They just didn't fit with how girls wanted to spend their day. Formal disappears. We can't dictate, okay, you must wear a skirt for formal occasions in these situations. And when girls are free to choose pants and shorts, win. So my conclusion is this. Was it really free choice? The Queensland Tribunal found no discrimination because most girls chose to wear a skirt. But when the choice is expensive, socially risky, and poorly designed for a girl's body, is it really choice at all? So a choice on paper is not a choice in practice. Pants options are often hidden, undersized, of extra cost, and just because they're theoretically available doesn't guarantee real access. Social pressure does the work of policy. Girls avoid trousers not because they're banned, but because standing out feels risky and enforcing conformity as effectively as a rule. Now, girls' pants aren't equal to boys' pants, so even when they're offered, girls' options are fitted, fiddlier to fasten, narrower size range, lesser choice, dressed up as equal. Skirted uniforms are linked to less movement, restricted posture, and uneven enforcement and exclusion of gender diverse students. And free choice reveals truth. When girls choose freely, comfort wins decisively. Skirts are rejected. They're just not practical. And these are my thoughts about best practice because schools design uniforms with certain ideas in mind. And I'd like these things to be considered. So shorts and pants must be offered to girls at all times at all schools. I don't see why private school girls um, don't have the option of it's not compulsory to offer them the option of shorts and pants. Why is it that private schools are allowed to get away with this? Skirts and dresses should never be made compulsory. The options must be clearly advertised and not buried or hidden from students and parents, as we saw in a lot of cases. And the cut and style should be designed for girls' body that are comfortable and easy to use and available across a range of sizes. And no compulsory tights. Universally, from all my participants, they all hated the tights. No girl freely wears, they are slipping. They are uncomfortable, they're itchy, they don't keep your legs warm, they get holes and um, runs in them constantly, and they're constantly falling down. Nobody wants to be forced to wear tights. The other thing is, it's easy for schools to just say, this is the uniform. If you don't like it, come talk to us. But as a parent, do you really want to be that parent that causes a problem? Do you really want to have a fight with the school about it and make your child a target? And if you talk to the Department of Education about it, they'll say, go back to talk to your school. So it's passing the buck. I think that we should have like a Dobbin line where you can actually say, this school is not complying with your policy. Like we can dob in illegal migrants, but we can't dob in schools that are forcing children to wear things that they're not supposed to be forcing them to wear. Um, I don't think it should be up to the parents to take up this fight with the school. Parents are busy. They have their own lives. Why is it up to them to ensure that the school complies with the Department of Education policy? So my call to action is stop burdening girls in the name of femininity, formality, and tradition. And comfort, movement, and equality should not be conditional. So feel to get in touch with me if you have any thoughts or comments or questions. So, yeah, I've got a question from the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm interested in what our schools in other countries do, particularly I know in Sweden and most Scandinavian countries they don't have uniforms. Has there been other research that in the non-uniform countries that the students are more active?
I haven't looked into those non-uniform countries yet. And the interesting thing is, because it's a non-issue there, I think it's not something at the forefront of people's minds about that kind of thing. It's just like, well, we don't have a uniform. That's just how it is. Yeah, I haven't looked into see if they're more, but it's hard to compare also because what are you comparing with if the entire country doesn't have a uniform, which isn't the case in a lot of these places.
Unless you went cross different countries and saw them.
That would be a huge study. Yeah, I haven't seen anything on that yet, but I will keep an eye out for it. Yeah.
Or select a few countries only and compare. For example, Australia with UK or some other countries.
something like that, one or two countries.
Yeah. What would interest me actually about these countries that don't have uniforms? I often hear from people that we need to have uniforms here because we need to teach children how to conform to the world of work later. So we have to teach them for 13 years how to wear a uniform because later on when they go to work, they'll have to wear a uniform. And I think to myself, one, most jobs don't require uniform. I've never worked in a job that required any kind of uniform. And secondly, what happens in these countries like Sweden and Germany and France that don't have uniforms? What do they wear to work? Are they turning up to work in their pajamas because they didn't get taught for 13 years at school to wear a uniform to school? I don't think so. I think they're quite well dressed when they go to work and they still conform to whatever conditions required at their workplace, even though they didn't get trained up for 13 years to wear, a blazer and a tie. So I would love to do work on that to see what are people wearing to work.
And did they talk about, because I think with the uniform, parents sometimes feel that it's less expensive in the long run than if they didn't wear uniform and had to have all the latest fashion. Did you hear much about that?
Yeah, I did ask the ones from the non-uniform school. I did pose this question to them saying, people say, oh, it's going to cost a lot more. And they all universities said no. So the ones from the primary school basically said, I get hand-me-downs from my friends. My kids are just wearing secondhand clothes that I got for free. And because they can wear anything, just put anything on, doesn't matter. All my kids' clothes have come to us for free. The ones from the high school, that as you saw, one girl just buys from Big W and Best and Less, and the other one, another mother I remember saying, my daughter loves op shopping, so she buys all her clothes secondhand, and she sometimes picks up things from council cleanup piles as well. So they all universities said, no, it's not more expensive not to have a uniform. Yeah.
We just had a comment from one of our online viewers saying, from Jason, this is a breakthrough work that creates the necessary conversation. I'm a DEI person, and this itself leans into the long-term issues of gendered expectations and limiting the potential of women. And then it's also gone on to say, and this uniform thing also supports the normalisation of other gendered expectations. For example, women need to take up the partner's family names, just to name a few.
Yeah. Shall I comment on that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it does tell girls you need like this idea of, girls should be wearing a dress and a skirt. You need to be quiet and not move too much. Don't be too loud. Don't be too active. Sit with your knees together. Don't be, conspicuous. Make yourself, as inconspicuous as possible, so that men in their pants, the phrase, right? Who wears pants, right? The men in pants can dominate and take over, the world. It's just, because you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of a dress? Like, why do you have to wear a dress? Like, what is it for? There is no purpose to it, actually, in the school context, right? So it's about gendered expectations as well. You're right.
And then, so the second one there, another comment from Frankie, just saying that I tend to say that instilling the overt and traditional performance of gender is a deliberate perk, not an oversight for a lot of private schools.
It's interesting that one when you look at all girls schools though, like the all girls private schools, and they will say things like, "Oh, we teach girls to be bold and to speak up and be confident without boys being a distraction." That's a selling point, of being an all girls school. Like we don't have boys telling girls what to do, or we're telling girls to be self confident about everything. But then they say, "But you still have to wear a skirt." Keep your knees together.
I mean, just anecdotally coming from the UK to Australia, I did find with the uniforms, they were more old-fashioned, as it were, than what was more in the current day in the UK, in London where I taught. And then it's more traditional. And I think, that private public is an interesting difference as well.
Yeah, I feel like in this case, actually girls in private schools are disadvantaged.
Yeah.
We always talk about private schools having more, like the advantage, but the girls from private schools are actually disadvantaged because they don't have the theoretical protection of the Department of Education policy.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So what do you hope educators, parents, policymakers, and students take away from this research? Have you shared this research with all these people?
No, it's quite new actually. I only started it at the end of last year, so it's actually preliminary findings. They're not conclusive findings. No, I haven't, but I really, as I said, some of the things that I really would love, I would love the policy to be applied to all schools, private schools inclusive. I don't see why they should get away with not offering girls short pants, especially since they take public funding. They take public funding, but are not abiding by public policy. I don't understand that. I actually met someone from Taiwan who says that schools funding is tied to these kind of things. So if the school is breaching the policy, they get their funding taken away. I would love to see that here. If it's tied to funding, then that will be like very much compliant, right? The other thing is, what's the question again?
The policies, no, and whether it is got, how do you hope that educators in total or Department of Education or parents, other policymakers and students take away from this research? Once it is published, once you share the research, one will be what they are going to take from this, the point they had.
That's why people just take a step back and think about this. Like it's as if you were, like, we're so entrenched in this. We take it for granted. Like it's every day. We grew up with it. We don't question it. Why are uniforms gendered in the first place? Why do we have a girls' uniform and a boys' uniform? I want people to question things like why. And why can't we wear the sports uniform every day? Why is there a formal uniform? Why do you need to sit and learn at your desk in a formal uniform? What is it about the formal uniform that helps you to learn or absorb information better? There isn't anything. Actually, you absorb better if you were in a comfortable, set of clothing. So no one's ever questioned this. And a lot of parents say, why can't they just make it the sports uniform every day? There is no reason why it can't be. So I want people to just question these so-called norms that we have that are entrenched in our minds. We don't think about it. We just accept it. And we just go along with it.
And another question is that, say, what implications of this research has got to, identify traditionally not non-gender or, traditionally gender categories that they haven't identified, how the uniform's going to matter for them?
Sorry, say that again.
So if it is students who do not identify the traditional gender categories, and how this uniform, what sort of implications they have got, or what would be their thinking?
Yeah, that's why it's really important to have these gender neutral options.
Yes.
So, for example, the shirt.
Anybody can be a...
Yeah, and a lot of the schools have a boys' shirt and a girl's shirt. So the girls' shirts often have, if it's a button-up blouse, the girls have the rounded Peter Pan collar and the boys have pointed collars. And I know a mother who finds this extremely annoying because she's got a girl and a boy, and so she can't pass the shirts between the kids. And I ask myself again, why pointed for boys and rounded for girls? So because round, girl has to be rounded, has to be dainty, and the point, like, it's too sharp, it's too masculine for a girl. The boys have the pointed collar. Why? Anyway, so gender neutral shirts, definitely. And gender neutral uniforms are actually really important in this space because, say, for example, if you transitioned genders while you were at school, what do you do? Like, from one day to the next, you wear the girls' uniform, and the next day you wear the boys' uniform, and then people will be like, what happened? It's you're calling attention to yourself, but you might not actually want that attention. You just want it to blend in. So I think it's really important to have a very neutral uniform where people don't have to actively identify with one gender and show it. It's like, I'm wearing the dress today. I'm a girl. I'm wearing the shorts and the pants. I'm a boy. So there should be a sort of kind of like a neutral grey space where people can just be a little bit inconspicuous.
I think these uniforms, actually, what they are trying to do is kind of giving everybody in a subtle form, shaping our identities. You are a girl, you are a boy, and you are this, you are that. So in a subtle way, they are telling us, oh, this is what you are supposed to be doing in early years of life.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think in terms of we're trying to encourage physical activity from my perspective in sport, and so to have a healthy life, then children spend so much time at school. Surely we should be going for a uniform that encourages as much physical activity as possible.
Yeah, and they found, for example, teenage girls do not get the amount of physical activity, like they do not do physical activity they should be doing. The teenage girls are the worst, and the activity levels drop dramatically once they hit the teens, right? And what are we doing to them? We're sticking them into these stiff, formal skirts and blazers. Um, how is that going to? It's almost like they want girls to not do physical activity. Is it? They don't want them to move. They don't want them to run around and play sport and stuff. Just sit quietly in your long skirts. Some schools have a mandate the length of the skirt, like it has to be over the knees. How do you run and play in a long, unwieldy skirt?
Do you think some schools use uniform as a kind of control then to control behaviour?
In a subtle way again. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he said one mother said, one of my quotes was, they care more about the uniform than they care about academics. So she's actually moving her daughter out of that school. And that was like one of the minor reasons, but she was saying they care more about the uniform than they care about the academics, and that obsessively control the uniform. They stand at the gates. A lot of private schools have people standing at the gate of the school. And as people walk in, the prefects are there picking out who's out of uniform. Like that is quite frightening to me, especially if you're like in year 7. Like there's someone standing there literally controlling your appearance, watching you and pulling you up. For example, like if you, like how dare you forget your blazer? How dare you forget your hat? Like one little mistake in life and you got a detention or something. And again, this idea that we're preparing people for the world of work, I don't think that people are getting into trouble at work for wearing, the wrong colored socks, for example. I just don't think that's happening. I've never heard of that.
Another couple of comments. One from Frankie, just talking about, I guess, having multiple uniforms, not being very friendly if it's a two-household family. So you've got to make sure that, if the kids are with mum and dad, you've got to have the full set of uniform in each house. If it's just a sports uniform, then I guess it's easy enough. You've got a couple of pairs of shorts and shirts at each household, and it's easy enough to manage rather than having to figure out which day of the week it is and which house wears which uniform and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's quite fiddly with the different uniforms on different days, and then sometimes there's even different coloured socks to match So the one where the other was talking about the girl, I want to look like a girl. That was actually a public primary school. There's different coloured socks that go with the sport uniform, but there's different coloured socks for boys and girls. So there's actually she's going to do with 4 different coloured socks, so 2 for the boy and 2 for the girl. And then she's like, I don't know anymore. Like, what color is it? I don't know. Just pick any color. Like, she's frustrated because, and it's almost like it's the girls say, I don't know, for example, on normal days, the girl has to wear the light blue socks, but on sports day, the boy wears the light blue socks. So it's like everything's like crossed over and mixed up, and it's confusing.
And then you sort of a disadvantage of mixed gendered families that have, like I had one boy, one girl, because you've got to have 2 sets of those uniforms. So it's
you can't.
there's no hand-me-down.
Yeah, I don't understand why schools don't think about the concept of passing down between different children and make it as gender neutral as possible. Oh, I can see in the chat. She says we used to get a Saturday detention if we were seen in public outside school without our girls' specific hat. Some of this came up in my data as well. So I did interview also, in addition to parents, I interviewed recent school leavers, so people in their 20s who just left school. And the interesting thing about the hat is for the outside world. It's not for sun protection. It's to make the school look posh and elite, the straw hat, because one of my participants who went to a very elite school here in Sydney said on the school grounds, the hat wasn't required. So at lunchtime and recess, while we were outside, it wasn't compulsory to wear the hat. The hat wasn't compulsory when we were going to and from school. So the hat is only for appearances for the outside world.
And did you find that weather was quite an issue as well? Adapting for the different weather?
Was this weird concept of, okay, terms 1 and 4, summer uniform, and terms 2 and 3, winter uniform. So weather patterns conform to school terms, apparently. And I think public schools are a little bit flexible with that, but private schools are very dictatorial, as in from day 1 of term 2, you will be in the winter uniform. no exceptions allowed. We don't care if it's super warm. I mean, if say it's like 35 or 39 degrees, they might put out a directive saying, okay, it is permitted now to wear the summer uniform. But it's like, I have to wait at home and sit and wait for a directive from school to say, I'm allowed to wear something that's conducive to the weather outside. Like I can see myself, I can feel myself that it's very, very hot and I'm not going to put on a winter uniform, but I'm not allowed to because the school hasn't said I'm allowed to. And it's kind of like telling people your feelings don't, like your feelings don't matter. What you feel is not important. You shouldn't be cold and you shouldn't be hot. There's also a school, interestingly, sometimes these policies can backfire, but so there's one private school in Sydney that one of the participants talked about. They got rid of their winter uniform. And I think it's just to make it cheaper for the parents because they don't have to buy 2 sets of uniform, so there is no winter uniform. So so you try to solve one problem, but then you've created another one. But like, what if they're cold in winter, you know? Yeah.
I guess, yeah, another comment online from Lucy, I guess saying, like the same with how to wear your hair and jewellery, except
Oh,
there's not a uniform, there's also other expectations and rules around. Yeah,
yeah, I did ask about that too. I haven't talked about it here because I didn't have time, but I did ask all the parents about, the hair and the uniform. Sorry, the hair and the jewelry. One of the participants from the recent school leavers, she was from an African background, and because her hair is quite, frizzy and hard to control, she told me she wore a wig to school every day because she couldn't be bothered trying to fix her hair in a proper way, like to make it look presentable for white Western norms. So she just put on a wig every day to try to eliminate that problem. But yeah, the schools are very strict about that kind of, especially the private schools, no jewelry, hair must be tied back, and the hair ties can only be this specific school color or can only be purchased from the school uniform shop. And the African braids. Another participant, his daughter got into trouble for having the beads at the end of the braids because they were not in the school colors, or she wasn't allowed to have beads at all. I can't remember. It was something like that. They told him take the beads out.
I think, yeah, just another comment regarding the hats. But yeah, that some of the parents from the school are pushing to bring the old-fashioned straw hats back because they think it presents better. But the girls and most parents just want to have a good old bucket hat. Yeah, easy to wash, stuff in a bag, and yeah, much easier to look after.
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, the straw hats. I don't know how to. I also don't know how you would wash that. How do you wash a straw hat? And somehow someone in Australia has invented this hat clip. I don't know if anyone's seen it. I can't remember what it's called, but it hooks onto your bag and it's a little clip for your hat. And I think it probably comes from a parent of a child who went to a private school who had a straw hat. And it costs $30 for this hat clip so that your child doesn't lose the hat or can clip it to the bag. And I was looking at it going, that's interesting. Like you spend $30 just to keep your hat, attached to your bag. So you don't crease it or like you can't just shove it in your bag, right? Because it's straw, you're going to damage it.
And they come up from books.
I think, yeah, and then, yeah, so Lucy just commented again about with school dress rules should conform with what's acceptable in the work environment. So I think it's probably what you're getting back to before, Jennifer, around, yeah, as long as they need to wear uniforms at school in order to then transition easily to the workforce because we're all wearing uniforms now.
Yeah. Most jobs don't require a uniform, especially white-collar jobs. Most white-collar jobs don't require a uniform. And even if they do, it's nowhere near as strict as what they expect in the schools. As I said, they don't dictate the color of your socks. I mean, a lot of the private schools have very specific socks with different colored rings around it, like you got a maroon and a yellow ring around the sock. So you have to buy that sock from that uniform shop, which costs $12 a pair. I haven't heard of a workplace that tells you have to buy these very specific socks that look just like this. And I swear all parents would agree if I said, can you just make the socks one plain color that you can just buy from Target or Kmart? Black, plain white, plain navy blue, whatever. It's just easy socks that you can wear every day. Why do you need very specific branded one.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also some private schools also even public schools make girls wear a tie. I've also not seen a workplace that requires a girl to wear it, like a woman to wear a tie. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen a person at work. like a woman at work wearing a tie. So yeah, I don't understand the purpose of being so strict with the uniform. That what is the purpose of it? Um, if you're saying we're preparing children for the world of work outside, I think we're over. If you think of that, you're definitely over preparing them because nobody dresses that strictly in a work environment.
Do you think it's social control though? Schools ought to control their students of what
It's that what I see more is about the appearance. It's about how other people perceive the school. So they want the students to look exactly the same, literally exactly the same. Nothing can be out of place. It has to be this specific item in this specific order. For example, not allowed to wear the jumper without the blazer. The blazer always has to be there. For a lot of private schools, like you can wear the blazer by itself with the shirt over the shirt. You can wear the jumper and then the blazer, but you can't wear the jumper by itself. So everyone has to look kind of identical. It's another appearance and how the school looks to the outside world. Like we want to show them that our students are neat and tidy and um, we're orderly and disciplined and this is a great school because we look so uniform and so neat and tidy.
So when I worked at uniform shops for primary school, one of the big factors was expense, the expense of the uniform. Did people talk a lot about that, the expense of the uniform?
I did ask about that, but a lot of them said, "Oh, I just get them secondhand." A lot of them. Expense not a real issue if they go to the secondhand uniform shop and buy everything secondhand, or they get them from friends for free and things like that. But the problem, for example, is what I showed at the beginning. That's a brand new uniform. So if it's a brand new uniform, you haven't got a choice to get secondhand. You're gonna have to buy everything new, and it's very expensive. Yeah. So, um,
Yeah, I heard that. Whether you can't go to like Lowe's, buy some or at some shop like Kmart.
yeah.
Lowe's.
Well, that's the other thing that people are pushing for is that a lot of parents are saying, why can't we just make it so you can buy things from Kmart or Target or Big W? So it should be just a generic thing, like generic navy blue pants, a generic white sock, And actually in Victoria, they have now got a rule in place that public schools, again, only applying to public schools, cannot stipulate branded bottoms. So anything from the waist down cannot be branded. So shorts and pants, socks and stuff like that. The public schools can't enforce these branded things anymore. So students should be able to buy it, generic shorts, generic pants, generic socks from these discount stores. Yeah, and I think parents are really would be really happy if that was permitted for some of these schools. But a lot of the schools stipulate you must be buying these things from the uniform shop only.
It's a lot of engagement and a lot of thank yous, okay? A lot of engagement, the conversation people are having.
Right, thanks everyone.